Dad, please! Stop! Don't do this! You don't have to do this! Just stop! Look at me, please! Just look at me! It doesn't have to be this way! I'm begging you, please don't, please! Why are you doing this? Why? I'm your daughter, Dad. Is paining me, Dad. Is paining me so hard. Stop, Dad. No! No, please. The night my father was arrested, I thought it was over. After years of fear, my mother and I testified, believing we were finally free. But as we left the courtroom, he escaped. He found us. His eyes burned into mine. Then, a gunshot. Darkness. As we dive into part 2, make sure you subscribe to my channel. The gunshot shattered the night. Emily's breath hitched as the world seemed to slow, every sound fading into a muffled hum. Her mother's grip on her arm tightened, fingers digging into her skin, trembling. The streetlights flickered, or maybe it was just her vision blurring. The scent of smoke and metal clung to the air, thick and suffocating. She didn't know where the bullet had gone. For a split second, nothing moved. Not the police officers, not her father, not even time itself. Then, chaos, screams, footsteps pounding against the pavement, someone shouting orders. Emily stumbled backward, her body moving before her mind caught up. Her mother was pulling her, dragging her away, but Emily's eyes were locked on the figure standing just feet away. Her father. He was still there, still standing. His face was twisted with something beyond rage, something primal, something monstrous. His eyes burned into hers, dark and unrelenting. His lips curled into a slow, deliberate smile. Her stomach twisted. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't running. He was savoring this moment. Then, he moved. Emily barely had time to react before her mother yanked her backward, her heart slamming against her ribs. She gasped as her feet stumbled over the curb, her body nearly collapsing beneath the weight of her own fear. More shouts, more chaos. The flashing red and blue lights of police cars bathed everything in an eerie glow. Emily's head spun. She turned, desperate to see what had happened. Had someone been shot? Had he been shot? But before she could process it, before her mind could form a single coherent thought, her father was gone. Vanished into the night like a phantom. Emily's lungs seized. Her pulse pounded against her skull. He was just there. He was standing right there. And now he wasn't. Something inside her shattered. A raw, guttural sob tore through her chest as she clutched onto her mother, as if holding on would stop the world from slipping out from beneath her. He was out. He was free. And he was coming back. A steady beeping sound pulled Emily from the darkness. Her body felt heavy, her mind slow and disoriented. The air smelled of antiseptic and something faintly metallic. Her eyelids fluttered open, and the harsh white ceiling lights stabbed into her vision. The room was sterile, unfamiliar, suffocating. She tried to move, but pain lanced through her body, sharp and unforgiving. A whimper escaped her lips. "Emily!" The voice was soft, trembling. Her mother. Emily turned her head, the effort exhausting. Her mother sat beside her, eyes swollen and red, her hands gripping Emily's fingers with quiet desperation. She looked so small, so fragile, as if she was barely holding herself together. Emily's throat was dry, raw. What happened? Her mother inhaled sharply, as if she'd been waiting for that question, dreading it. "You collapsed. You went into shock." Her voice broke, and she pressed a shaking hand over her mouth before whispering, "I thought I lost you." Memories surged back, jagged and cruel. The gunshot, the flashing lights, his face, that smile. Emily's chest tightened. She gripped the sheets beneath her fingers, trying to ground herself, but the walls of the hospital room suddenly felt too close, the air too thick. Her pulse raced, her body trembling. "He was there," she whispered, barely able to say the words. "He got out. Her voice cracked. "He was right there." Her mother squeezed her hand tighter. "I know." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. Where is he? Her mother hesitated. That hesitation sent a shiver of terror through Emily's spine. They don't know, her mother finally admitted, voice hollow. The police. They lost him. The words slammed into Emily like a physical blow. Lost him. The room tilted, her breath hitching in sharp, panicked gasps. He was out there, walking free, breathing the same air, watching, waiting. Her mother stroked her hair like she used to when Emily was little, but it did nothing to quiet the storm raging inside her. We'll leave the city, her mother whispered. We'll disappear, change everything. He won't find us. He won't. But Emily knew better. He always found them. Emily sat up in the hospital bed, her skin clammy despite the chill in the room. Sleep had been impossible. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, his smirk, the cold glint in his eyes. The memory of the gunshot still rang in her ears, a phantom sound that refused to fade. Her mother had stepped out to speak with the doctor, leaving her alone for the first time since she woke up. The silence was suffocating. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only thing keeping her tethered to reality. Then her phone vibrated. A slow, dreadful pulse of sound. Her stomach clenched. No one had been allowed to visit her. Only her mother and the police had her number. No one else. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the device on the nightstand. The screen glowed in the dim room. An unknown number. A single message. Did you miss me? Emily's breath hitched. Her vision swam. Her fingers went numb, and the phone nearly slipped from her grasp. The letters blurred as her mind refused to process what she was seeing. This couldn't be real. He wasn't supposed to have access to her. He wasn't supposed to be able to reach her. Her pulse roared in her ears. She forced herself to breathe, to think logically, but her body was already reacting, her hands shaking, her chest tightening as though invisible fingers had wrapped around her throat. Her thumb hovered over the screen. She wanted to ignore it, wanted to throw the phone across the room. But her body moved on its own. She clicked the message. 3 dots appeared. He was still typing. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might stop altogether. Another message appeared. You look beautiful when you sleep. A strangled cry escaped her lips. Her hands jerked and the phone tumbled onto the bed. Number no, no, no. Her head whipped toward the hospital door, expecting it to burst open, expecting him to be standing there grinning at her terror. The walls felt too thin, the window too exposed. Was he here? Had he been inside her room? Her breathing came in short, sharp gasps. She wanted to scream, but the sound caught in her throat. She scrambled for the phone, her fingers clumsy, her body frozen in fear. A third message. See you soon. A sob tore from her chest. The room spun, the door opened, and her mother walked in. Emily? Her voice was concerned but distant, like it was coming from underwater. Emily couldn't answer, because she knew now. He had never stopped watching. The hospital room was dark, except for the dim glow of the streetlights outside, their pale light barely cutting through the heavy silence. Emily lay stiff in the bed, staring at the ceiling, her body tense, her breath shallow. Sleep refused to come. Every time her eyes drifted shut, she felt it, something watching her. She wasn't alone. She didn't know how she knew, but the feeling had sunk deep into her bones. It was the same feeling she had in the courtroom when she turned her head and saw him staring at her. That cold, unblinking gaze. Her mother had fallen asleep in the chair beside her, arms crossed, breathing steady. The presence wasn't coming from her. No, this was different. Wrong. Her phone was clutched in her hand under the covers. The last message still burned in her mind. See you soon. The air in the room felt heavier now, suffocating. Her skin prickled as if unseen eyes were crawling over her body. She swallowed, gripping the sheets tightly. And then, a soft creak. Her breath caught. The sound was faint, almost like the settling of the building. But she knew better. It had come from the corner of the room where the shadows were deepest. Her pulse hammered as she turned her head, moving only her eyes. The dark was too thick, she saw nothing, but she felt it. Something was there. The air itself seemed to shift. The hairs on her arms stood on end. The sound of her own breathing became deafening. Her body screamed at her to move, to run, but she was paralyzed by fear. And then, another creak, closer. Her fingers twitched against the sheets. She didn't want to look. She didn't want to see what was standing in the dark, but she had to. Slowly, trembling, she reached toward the lamp on her nightstand. If she could just get to the light, a whisper, right beside her ear. "Emily!" She screamed. Her mother jolted awake, eyes wide. "Emily, what is it?" Emily shot upright, gasping, clutching her chest. She turned her head frantically, scanning the room. The shadows remained still. Nothing moved. But she knew. She wasn't alone. Tears burned in her eyes as she choked out the words. "He's here." Her mother frowned, groggy with sleep. "Honey, there's no one here. You are having a nightmare." Emily shook her head violently. No, I heard him. He whispered my name." Her mother softened, reaching for her hand. "Sweetheart, you're exhausted. You've been through so much." Emily's breathing was ragged, her body trembling so hard she thought she might shake apart. She looked toward the corner of the room again, her stomach twisting into knots. Nothing. But that didn't mean he wasn't there. It just meant he was waiting. The house felt different. Emily stepped inside, her mother right behind her, but the air was wrong, thick, suffocating, as if the walls had absorbed her fear and were now pressing it back onto her. She had spent years in this house, memorized every creaky floorboard, every corner where the light didn't quite reach. But now it felt unfamiliar, like something had shifted in the time she'd been gone. She hesitated in the doorway, her fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. She didn't want to go in. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around and leave, but where would she go? Her mother sighed, setting down her purse. "Emily, you need rest. You'll feel better after some sleep." Emily swallowed. Sleep? How could she sleep when she could still hear his voice in her head, when every shadow seemed to stretch toward her like outstretched hands? She moved forward slowly, one step at a time. The house was quiet. Too quiet. She could hear the clock ticking in the living room, the faint hum of the refrigerator. But beneath it there was something else, a silence that felt heavy, waiting. She made it to her bedroom and hesitated before pushing the door open. The room was exactly as she had left it, her bed neatly made, the lamp on her nightstand, her books lined up perfectly on the shelf. But something felt off. Her stomach twisted as she scanned the room. Something was missing. No, not missing. Moved. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside, her eyes darting around. Her jewelry box. It had been on the dresser. Now it was on the floor. Her desk chair, pushed back just slightly, as if someone had been sitting there. And the closet door, open an inch. Her breath hitched. She had closed it before they left. She was sure of it. Slowly, she reached for the door handle, her hand trembling. The moment she touched it, a floorboard creaked. Not beneath her, but inside the closet. She froze. The air in the room turned ice cold. She wasn't alone. A whisper so faint she barely heard it. "Emily." Her scream shattered the silence. Emily's breath came in short, panicked gasps as she scrambled back from the closet, her heart hammering in her chest. The room felt suffocating, the air thick with something unseen, something watching. She reached for the lamp, needing light, needing anything to push back the darkness that felt like it was closing in around her. Her fingers fumbled against the switch, and the moment the bulb flickered to life, the whisper stopped. Silence. But the fear didn't leave. It only burrowed deeper inside her. She forced herself to move, backing toward the door, keeping her eyes on the closet. The crack of darkness between the door and the frame seemed deeper now, more sinister. It wasn't just a shadow, it was a void. With shaking hands, she grabbed the door and yanked it open. Nothing. Just her clothes hanging limply, the faint scent of fabric softener and old perfume lingering in the air. She let out a shaky breath, trying to convince herself it had been in her head. It had to be in her head. Then she saw it, her reflection. She turned, staring at her bedroom mirror, her pulse roaring in her ears. There, across the glass, smeared in something dark and uneven, was a message. "He's inside." Her throat closed. The letters dripped down the glass like fresh blood, the strokes jagged, erratic, written with a trembling hand. "Number no, no, no." She staggered back, her legs nearly giving out beneath her. She hadn't written that. Her mother hadn't written that. Her body went cold, an unbearable, gut-wrenching terror sinking into her bones. Something was here. Something was inside the house. A floorboard creaked outside her door. Not in the closet, not in her head, right outside. Her breath hitched. She turned, staring at the gap between the door and the floor. A shadow moved. Emily didn't scream. She couldn't, because the moment she opened her mouth, she knew he would hear her. Emily's body was frozen, her breath shallow as she pressed herself against the wall. The shadow outside her door hadn't moved, but she could feel him. He was there, waiting, listening. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone, but as soon as she lifted it, it vibrated in her hand. A message flashed across the screen. "I see you." Her stomach twisted. She nearly dropped the phone. Her pulse pounded so violently she thought she might pass out. Then, the doorknob turned, slow, deliberate. A cold sweat broke across her skin. She had locked the door. She was sure she had locked it. Click. The lock turned. Emily's breath hitched, her muscles locking in place as the door creaked open an inch. Then another. Darkness loomed beyond the gap. And then, a whisper. Software. Familiar. His voice. "You thought you could run from me?" Emily choked on a sob. She stumbled back, her feet barely working beneath her. She had to move. She had to run. The door slammed open. A figure stood in the darkness, towering, motionless. Him. Her father. His eyes gleamed in the dim light, hollow and full of something worse than rage. He smiled. "You were never safe." Emily turned to flee, but he lunged. A hand grabbed her wrist, iron strong, nails digging into her skin. She screamed. Then, blackness. Emily's scream was swallowed by the darkness as her father's grip tightened. Her heart pounded like a drum in her chest, her pulse deafening in her ears. She kicked, thrashed, desperate to break free, but his fingers dug deeper, locking her in place. His breath was hot against her ear. "Shh," he whispered, almost gentle. "It's over now." It wasn't over. She clawed at his arm, nails scraping against his skin, but he didn't flinch. His grip only grew stronger. Then, a noise. Distant, faint, but unmistakable. Footsteps, coming fast. Her father stiffened. Emily gasped for air, her vision blurring with tears as she tried to scream again. But before she could, a hand clamped over her mouth. The footsteps were closer now, echoing through the hallway. Someone was coming. For a split second, she dared to hope. Then, the last sound. A gun clicking into place right against her temple, a whisper colder than death itself. "If they come in here, you die." The footsteps stopped outside the door. A hand reached for the handle. And then, silence. To be continued. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe now and hit the red button below.